Hey, welcome back to Trail Mix. So I've had a few comments over the last few videos from people asking us to do a video on what's in me bags and me bike setup. So I'm planning to do a trip in the next couple of days or so, and I thought I would get me bags packed and talk you through what's in them. So let's go through it step by step, starting with the front. This is a Topeak front loader. I think it's probably the second front handlebar harness I've ever had, and I've had this for a few years and it's been really good. Not that expensive, 30-40 quid I think it might have been. So what I've got on the front is what I use around about springtime, summer, sometimes autumn, but when the weather gets colder I'll use a 3-season sleeping bag. This is me, I think it's maybe even a 1-season sleeping bag in here, and it's an Alpkit Pipedream 200 inside there. And what I tend to do is, before I actually leave on my trip, I'll put my sleeping bag inside my bivvy bag in there. So that's just a oh, there's my pillow. That is a Trekology Pillow 2.0. Out of all the pillows I've tried over the years, that's been my favourite. I'm not saying it's the best pillow, but to my preference, I find that the most comfortable. Obviously that's a dry bag, and that's my sleeping bag and bivvy bag, all ready to go. So this is my Alpkit Hunka. So the benefit of having your bivvy bag and your sleeping bag already inside it is that once you pull it out your dry bag, it's everything's set up. All you have to do is just put that straight onto your sleeping mat and it's done. This is my ground sheet as well, I mentioned on my last video, by gram counter gear. I'll put all the specs below if anyone's interested in grams and that. This is a medium one, 210 by 90 centimeters. I think I've used this twice and it's really good, really lightweight, and it protects your sleeping mat. So if you've got an inflatable sleeping mat like the one I've got, you know, they can easily be punctured unless you protect it with something like this. Another little tip for you. You see these handlebar harnesses or handlebar bags, whatever you use, I find quite a common problem with them is that they're sort of like the press on your cables, or they can rub on your head tube. They're not supported very well. So if they press on your cables, they compress your cables a little bit, and you know they could affect your shifting, your gear changing, and worst case scenario, they rub on your paintwork. So what I've found, a little hack, which it's not my idea, I think I got off the internet somewhere, is, I don't know if you can see that, I'll flip it over. I put one of these on, I think I got from eBay or Amazon. I think that's a carbon one actually, it was about 8 quid. So you put that on your handlebars. I think they're supposed to be for adding accessories, and it's supposed to stick out there and you put your lights on, GPS, etc. But I've put it at that angle, and that supports the handlebar harness and stops it going onto the cables or your head tube. It works really well. But one other little tip, you've got to make sure it's really tight. And what I've done is I've put some bits of rubber, some spare bits of old inner tube underneath. Don't know if you can see that. And if you just clamp it up really tight, obviously don't over tighten it where you break it, but have it really tight, that doesn't move at all. It's really sturdy, and the thing's absolutely rock solid when I'm going over bumps and everything, and it doesn't affect me shifting, and doesn't affect damaging me paintwork. So yeah, it's really good. So I think this is called a fuel cell, isn't it, or something similar, or feed bag. So what I have in mine is trail mix, obviously, protein bar, which I've mentioned before. If you have one of them within half an hour of exercise, so at the end of your ride, as you're setting up your bivvy bag and everything, your top or your tent or whatever, just, you know, munch away on that and you'll be good to go the next morning for riding again. The protein repairs all the damaged muscle in that after your day of riding. And also in here, it's a bit of a tight fit, but is my titanium mug. I think this is an Alpkit one. And I'll show it, well, you've seen on my other videos how I use it. If I'm going ultra lightweight, that's all I'll take. And I just use it to boil water. And at the bottom of here, if I can get it out, bit of a tight squeeze, is the gas. Couldn't think of the word there. So that's just one of the small ones. It usually lasts about 3 days, I would say, if using day and night. I've used that about a couple of trips now. And another little tip for you: when you buy one of these, when they're new, wait on some digital scales and make a note on the bottom of what the grams are when it's full. And then as you use it, you can see how much you've got left. So the last thing you want is that to run out halfway through a trip. So what I normally do is, before I go, I'll wait on some digital scales, and it'll give us quite an accurate idea of how much is left. Another little issue I had to problem solve over the years is how do I get water bottles on my bike if I've got my frame bag attached. And what I've found, and this is to my preference again, let's take that bottle off to show you. These have been the best way of attaching a water bottle to suspension forks. It's not perfect, and I don't think there is a perfect solution being invented. Maybe there's a little bit of a gap in the market. There's no perfect solution of a water bottle mount, unless anybody else knows differently. I know you can use those hose clips that plumbers use and things like that, and they do work to an extent. So what I've got on here anyway, these are called monkey clips. The downside of them is they were quite expensive for what they are. I think they were £15 each, which is a lot of money, but I bought them years ago. And I tend to just leave these on this bike because I primarily use this bike for bikepacking, and I use it through the winter as well, so I just leave them on. This little mount here is part of this water bottle, which is a Fidlock magnetic water bottle, and that just goes on there, just comes off like that. Another little tip for you as well: see these two little bolts there, Allen bolts? I got some shorter ones from eBay, because you'll find if you use the standard ones, they'll go too far in, and they'll go into your paintwork or your forks. So if you get some shorter ones, I can't remember the length of them now, maybe a centimetre shorter than the standard ones anyway, and that ensures it doesn't damage the forks. So there you go. So top tube bag now. Usually put things in there that you want close to hand, such as, well, I've got my phone in there. Sometimes I put my little tripod in there when I'm making my videos. Coffee's 3-in-1. I'm a 3-in-1 kind of guy, like I said before. Oh, 2 in there. I used to take, do you know those oats, so simple things? I used to take them to have it for breakfast in the morning. But I find, yes, they're lightweight, but they take up a lot of room in your bag, don't they? So I started making homemade flapjacks, which is exactly the same ingredients, isn't it? It's just oats. This is a bought one from Home Bargains, actually. 3 of them for £1. And there's a lot of calories in there. So I'll usually have that with a cup of coffee, one of those 3-in-1s for my breakfast in the morning. Brilliant, man. And the last thing is some handy wipes, obviously for getting clean, because you don't have luxuries of showers or baths when you're wild camping day. And then a lighter for lighting my stove. Right, I'll talk you through what's in my frame bag now. So this can change slightly depending on the length of the trip I'm doing. So the way I've packed my bike for this video, it's probably for like an overnight or maybe 2 nights, 3 at a push. If I was going out longer or in the middle of nowhere, I would pack more. But it's all to do with just taking a little bit of risk. I think you can really overpack, especially when you first start doing this. You just think you need everything. And I think part of the charm or part of the appeal is trying to declutter like what you really need to take. And you know, worst case scenarios, I mean, do you really want to be taking every tool you own just in case, you know, you have some sort of mechanical? I mean, what's the likelihood? So there is an element of risk that you've just got to overcome. So starting with this is a foldable bottle. I usually carry 2 of these. I think that's is it 700 millilitres, nearly a litre, yeah. So when I get to camp, I'll fill that up with water. Usually I'll carry 2, like I say, and I'll have 2 bottles as well. If I know, or it's likely I'm not going to be passing any shops or little villages, I'll take my water filter. And this is an MSR Trailshot, which you'll have seen in some of my previous videos. It's always good to take something like that in anyway, just as a backup, just in case you can't find any shops. That place up Rothley Castle and that, there was no shops, there was nothing. So I definitely needed that. If you don't have a water filter, I find it'll limit you where you can go. You'll have to plan your route through villages. Sometimes that's not always the case. Like for example in Northumberland, there's a lot of it that's like uninhabited, where there's no villages for miles and miles and miles, you know. So yeah, I might do a video specifically about what I know about water filters and purifying water. I'm not an expert, but I have been reading up on it, so I'll pass on me limited knowledge. Right, I tend to use these as well. Again, they're not the cheapest, but they're extremely lightweight and convenient. Much better than like a pot noodle. These particular meals are real meals, if you know what I mean, but just dehydrated, so they haven't got preservatives or anything like that. And yeah, that they're quite nice, to be honest. I mean, when you're out in the middle of nowhere outside, anything tastes nice, doesn't it? But I like taking them. If I was just doing a local overnighter, going 5 or 10 miles just in some local woods, I'd probably take, I don't know, probably a tin of soup. Or, you know, it doesn't really matter about weight then, does it? But if I know I'm going 40, 50, 60 miles or whatever, you know, you don't want to be lugging a tin of beans and sausages around here. Or maybe you do. So this is my top. This is the Alpkit 3.5. I'll put the specs below. I've had this about 10 years. A lot of my kit I've had more than 10 years. I've just built it up over time, just tweaking it and improving it and just doing research, and I think I've got it like pretty fine-tuned now, man. This is my preference of a stove, which is the Alpkit Kraku. I think this is only, I think it's titanium. I think it's, and that works perfectly on a little titanium cup, what I've got. Or sometimes I take a bigger pot, a titanium pot, if I'm making pasta or whatever. The downside is if you're cooking in a pot, you've got dishes to do. So it's all down to, again, your preference. Chain tool. So I'll talk you through what tools, actually I'll tell you what tools I take at the end. You may be shocked at how little I take. Alcohol gel. Wash my hands after filtered water. What else is in here? Toothpaste. Titanium spork. Head torch. What's that one? Nebo. I think it's a USB rechargeable. I don't really use it much, to be honest, but I always take it just in case. This is a Flex Tail Zero pump for blowing me sleeping mat up. Works brilliantly. Titanium pegs. I mentioned that in the other video, didn't I? It's got, I think there's 10 in there. So do you know that ground sheet I've just shown you before? That you can peg it out in the corners and get it nice and flat and taut before you put your sleeping mat on. Sudocrem, just in case you're just starting to get a little bit of saddle sore. I find if you put some of that on before you go to sleep, if you do have a little bit of saddle sore, it's usually gone in the morning. Moving to the seat pack now. This is a 6 litre Topeak Backloader, and I think you can get a 10 litre and also a 15 litre version. But I find if I got a bigger one, I would just fill it with stuff I don't need. My rule of thumb over time is, do I really need to take it? You know, yeah, like I said before, you do need to have a fine line between having a degree of comfort because you want to enjoy it. You want to enjoy your trip and you want to enjoy your camping experience, but at the same time, you don't want to be taking too much where it's just miserable to ride your bike because it's just extremely hard on the hills. Your bike weighs a ton, you can't lift it over any gates, you can't push it up, you know, difficult hiker bike sections. So yeah, I try to go as light as I can within reason. So the first little tip I've got for you is that these rear packs, and it's not specific to this particular model or make, a lot of these rear packs, they sort of like wobble like that. This one doesn't, not really, actually, not that I've noticed. But some of the bigger ones, especially the 15 litre one, would probably sway over time, you know, when they come unloose, the straps, when you go over bumps and that. So I use this strap here. It's just didn't come with a bag, it's just a spare one I had. I've got a couple of them lying around. So if you've got any of them spare, you know, just a basic strap, just put it under there through the saddle rails and strap it around, and it just gives it extra security, and that's rock solid over any terrain, doesn't move. The good thing about this bag as well, I think this is only the second bag I've had over the years, like, is that you don't need to take the bag off, you just leave it on. And there's a dry bag inside there, and everything's in it. It's even got one of them in as well, so you can compress it and get all the air out of it. You know, you can make it really small if you wanted. Paracord. Couldn't remember the name of them on my last video, could I? Down jacket. I've had this about 14 years. Got it from Costco. In the height of the summer, I'll not take that. So what you've got to remember, you can go even lighter when the weather's really warm. So yeah, I'll not take that. Sometimes I'll not take my water filter if I know I'm going through villages. It's not essential. So that's lightweight anyway. You know, you can really compress down to nothing. But I sleep with that on a lot. So if your sleeping bag doesn't quite cut it, temperature-wise, you can just get a down jacket, and then, you know, it just keeps you much warmer than just going straight into your sleeping bag. Long johns, merino wool. This is a base layer, Enduro one, which I wear in the winter on my bike. Also merino wool, very warm. Had that about 14 years as well. What else is in here? Army hat. Should always wear a hat when you're camping. It's where you lose a lot of heat. Had that hat about 14 years. Probably longer. Spare socks. It's always good to have spare socks. You know, what you need is all your sleeping kit in a separate dry bag. So if you do turn up to camp, freezing cold and wet, you can change into like your warm sleeping kit. It makes all the difference, and then you get in your bag. Oh, another little tip for you as well. Before you go to sleep or get into your sleeping bag, try and have a hot drink or a hot meal. It warms your your core, your insides up before you get into your bag. I know some people don't take a stove. Again, that's my preference. Some people just take sandwiches, but I like to have like a hot meal. There's something appealing about sitting by a river or you know, like by your camp having a hot drink, isn't it? Or a hot meal or whatever. So this is my sleeping mat, which is a Neoair, the Thermarest Neoair Xlite. I think it's one of the lightest ones you can get. Probably light, and you can get light on this now. I think it's about 350 grams. I'll put the stats at the bottom. Again, I've had it over 10 years. This has had punctures over the years as well, which you can repair them with. Can't remember that tape you can get now. What's the name of that tape you can get? It's the same stuff. There, you see it. If I remember, I'll put it below. Just to summarise, yeah, I hope it's been helpful. Even if you can get something from this, you know, if you think there's ways I could improve my setup, I'm always, you know, open to ideas. I love listening to other people's suggestions. This is just what works for me, and I think everybody's different on it. People find ways and means to make things better for them, and some people like to take more, some people take less than me. Do you know what I mean? I think mine's pretty light, and I can ride on all the usual trails, single track, double track, whatever, than I can if it didn't have the bags on. The bike handles the same as well, and it's not too heavy. I can lift it over gates, and if there's any difficult hiker bike sections, it's not too bad either. I was just thinking about e-bikes. I haven't got an e-bike, but if anybody's got an e-bike, it would be interesting to hear their feedback on e-bikes, because I was just thinking there, you could literally take what you want on an e-bike, couldn't you? You could just laden it with the kitchen sink. You could take everything. Probably the downside is the bike probably wouldn't handle as well off-road. If you were going on like trails, and you'd really struggle if you were trying to get it over a fence, or if there was a difficult steep section hiker bike, you'd probably struggle as well. So it is always worth, you know, going reasonably light as much as you can get away with without trading off too much discomfort. I always think you've got to have a little bit of comfort where you enjoy it. You've definitely got to be warm. That's the one thing you should never skimp on is the quality of your sleeping bag. I've never mentioned my sleeping bag. I have, sorry, the Pipedream 200. So that's my summer sleeping bag, and the 3-season one is a Vango Venom 400. No good for the winter, but it goes down to 2 degrees, I think. Comfort rating depends how warm you sleep. Some people are like warm sleepers. I think I'm sort of like in the middle. But if the one thing that can put people off camping is if they're doing sleepers, the cold, it'll just put you off for life. So if you're going to get into camping, it's always worth to spend a little bit extra in doing some research into getting a quality sleeping bag, or one that's going to keep you warm. So you might have noticed on my videos that I use one of these waist packs. This is the Osprey Seral 7 litre waist pack. I think this one comes with a reservoir, like a bladder with the hose, but I don't use that. Forgot to mention that. That's an Endura waterproof jacket, ultra light. Always take a waterproof jacket unless you're absolutely sure it's not going to rain, but that's lightweight. I'll put that in my frame bag normally, and if I'm going for 1 or 2 days, I'll take some sort of power bank to recharge my phone or my GoPro or whatever. So tools wise, you'll laugh at this. Pump, right? That's that race rocket. Topeak again, or Topeak, don't know how you pronounce it. Chain tool, I always recommend taking a chain tool. If you don't take one, your chain will break. If you take one, your chain will never break. This is a Stan's tubeless repair kit. So if My tyres are tubeless, and what I'll normally do is if I'm going away on a bike packing trip, I'll just ensure it's topped up with sealant. And I've been fortunate enough that every puncture I've had, even ones where I've had big rusty nails in the tyre, they've still sealed. I mean, they've took 20 minutes to seal, like really big holes. I've never needed to use this, so this is for when you've got a hole in your tyre and it's so big it just won't seal. So this is like a plug. So I'll carry that. Oh, there's my toothbrush, look. And especially in the summer, I'll take midgie repellent, or one of these midgie repellent band things, you know, because the midgies love me. Yeah, so I'll take them. I'll usually take a little pot of, what do you call it, suntan lotion as well. Yeah, so getting back onto this Waistpack is, I think over the years, I used to always wear backpack, like most people do. And for me personally, I found if you're doing any kind of distance on your bike, and especially if you've got a lot on your backpack, you tend to get like pains in your back, and it's inevitable that you're going to get saddle sore at some point, or you know, some sort of like pain sitting on a saddle all day. Doesn't matter how good the saddle is. I find if you're wearing a backpack, especially a heavy one, that brings that pain on like prematurely. So it'll come earlier, your saddle sore, if you've got a big backpack on. And having a backpack as well, I've found just affects your posture on your bike. It can just misalign even like a small muscle in your back, and which has a whole knock-on effect to the whole your whole bike fit, how you're sitting on your bike without realising. I mean, you use a lot of energy just to have to keep upright on the bike and have that riding position. If you have a big backpack on, your body's doing more. You know what I mean? This is what I found personally anyway. So I tried one of these a few years ago, 3-4 years ago. I think this is the second one I've had. And this transformed my riding. It's like riding without a backpack, like unladen. It's like liberating. Do you know what I mean? It's like, whoa, yeah, it's mint this. Riding a bike without a backpack. But the good thing is, you can still carry stuff. The downside of these, if you put too much in them, they can slide down a little bit. They're supposed to go around your waist and your hips, but you can feel them pulling down. I can anyway, if you've got too much in. So I tend not to put loads of stuff in. I usually have like my snacks in there. You know, sandwiches, apple, banana, some trail mix, whatever. Me arm warmers, me knee warmers. The other good thing as well, if you've got a jacket on, you know, like a waterproof jacket or your gilet, and you've got one of these on, you don't have to take this off. You know, if you had a backpack on, you'd have to stop, take your backpack off, you know, get all the things that open it up, take your jacket off, put it back in. This you can literally, well, you do have to stop obviously, unless you can do it without stopping, if you're like a stuntman or something. But you can just, you know, stop for a few seconds, and then you just pull your like gilet up, and it comes off and put it in your bag. And if you want to stop and have like a sandwich or a snack as well, you don't have to take it off, you just swivel it around. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. Spoken nonsense long enough, I think. Yeah. So yeah, I'll be going on my bike today. Not a bike packing trip. I'm going to head out on my other bike. See if I can edit this video, get her up on Monday or whatever. And then I'm planning to go on a bike packing route overnight, I think. Thinking about going south. I like the idea of just picking a direction and going, right, I can there. Went north the last time. I'm going to run out of direction soon though, aren't I? Yeah? It's only north, south, east and west. Might try northeast next. Or north, east. No, I've got loads of ideas for like trips, but exciting. Right, anyway, sorry for speaking nonsense. I hope this has been of some sort of interest or help people. who are into this kind of thing, and if it's hard to cover everything, you know what I mean? Like, so any questions, put in the comments and I'll get back to you to what I know or what I've learned through trial and error with doing this kind of stuff. But get out there, you love it, man. Get yourself a bike, get yourself a bivvy bag or a tent, you love it, man. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next bike ride.